Okay, progress. Let's go. Okay, it's public. Got it. Done.
Where's Miss Juicy?
With her dad.
Oh, okay.
Done.
Where's Miss Juicy?
Let me tell this. Hey, everybody. Give me a second. I'm going to turn some stuff down. I'm going to tag you, Sean. Let's see. See me on here yet? Okay, I don't see me on here yet, Sean, but hold on. Oh, there I am. All right, let me get you tagged in. What's up, y'all? Come on in. Come on into the room. Okay, I got you. I got you tagged. What you see? You see us? We outside.
I see us. We outside.
We outside
On this Sunday.
Okay, cool. So I'll be looking, as you know, from my phone for any comments, so I don't miss. You know, they'd be super interactive on these lives. It's so fun. It's so fun. I'm excited. Ah! Well, it's boundaries for me, boo.
It's the boundaries. Don't make me sing. Don't make me sing. Don't make me
Get
sing.
a note on them. It's boundaries for me. Let's get to it. I am Erika Genice. I have dope conversations with dope people. None other than Miss Shaundra Dineen. She is a life coach. She's an award-winning motivational speaker. She's a best-selling author. She is my friend. She's a fashion icon. And I just learned that she's a Gemini though. So that messed me all the way up. Here I am, all in her comments. It's Taurus season. Did you catch that?
I did. And I thought to myself, baby, Taurus season is ending today. The Geminis are here. We are here. We are here.
Man, that messed me up.
Don't let it mess you up. Don't let it mess you up. Just roll with it. Just roll with it. With Gemini all day, May 26th, Thursday.
Wow. One of my best friends, Shayla, that she done a few lives with me. She's a Gemini. She's incredible. So I love it.
We're good people.
Yeah, y'all are. Okay, so let's get into it. The conversation is about healthy boundaries. I'm asking everyone to please like this video, please share. Even if you feel like your boundary game is tight, okay, somebody else on your page may not be. So share the love. We are trying to get this, I always say free therapy, you know, for people who don't necessarily have the resources to go in to actually get therapy. This is what this platform is about, introducing topics that maybe they wouldn't consider even talking about in therapy. So
right.
Please share this to others. We want to share all the love and the knowledge. So I'm gonna kick off this conversation with two quotes. Okay. And really two things that I learned from my hours of research in this topic. Okay. One, no one can ever go further with you than you have given them permission to go. And the way that people treat you is the way that you have trained them to.
Absolutely.
Is that true?
That second one is, I always say that okay. People will learn how to treat you two ways based on how you treat yourself. And then how you have allowed them to treat you.
Okay.
So both of those ways teach someone else how to show up for you in your life. And we get afraid of that. We put up some different facades and, we don't show up as our true authentic selves.
Yeah.
We show up as a representative or as someone else, or we try to do things the way we think other people would want us to do them. And when you do that, you're not being true to the authenticity of who you are and who God made you to be. To be anything else is disrespectful.
It's disrespectful. He's looking like, I didn't, that's not what I called you.
Yeah, that is not the way I made you.
Right. You playing. You down there playing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So let's talk about boundaries. What in your definition, anybody else's definition, what do you consider when you hear the word boundaries? What is that?
So I took some notes, Erika. I'm going to try my best to stay to the notes, but that was one of the first things that I jotted down. And boundaries are really, they're guidelines. Boundaries are guidelines, and they are the limitations that we set regarding what we will permit or allow and what we will not permit or allow in our lives. That, I think, is at the most basic foundational level of boundaries. That is the definition that I would give boundaries. It's what I'm going to allow in.
Yeah.
And what I'm not going to allow, what I will and I will not allow for my life.
Yeah, I always say my boundaries are the things that I have agreed to say yes to, and the things that I have agreed to say no to.
Yeah, so the things that you will allow and the things that you will not allow.
That's right.
It gives us a guideline as we deal in different relationships.
Yeah.
That it should, when something happens, it should set something off in your head that, no, I'm not allowing that. Or yes, I can work in that space. I can deal with that.
Yeah, yeah. Why are boundaries good for you?
They protect you. They're protection, and they also, in my opinion, show some ownership. I think of boundaries as a yard. So if you were to buy a house, you have a yard, you have a fence. Everything that's within that fence belongs to me. I protect that. It's those are my assets. I invest in it. I keep it well. I keep it looking good. Anything that happens on the other side of that fence really is out of my control and has nothing to do with me. So when I think of boundaries, I think of them as my yard. There's a fence, and everything that's within that fence belongs to me. It's hard sometimes to set those boundaries because, in my opinion, we live in a society where we seek validation. That we seek validation for everything that we do. And sometimes the boundary that I've set for myself is not easily received or accepted by someone that's on the other side of my fence. So as long as I'm in my fence and in my yard, those boundaries are good. That's good for me. But the minute I step on the other side of my fence to everyone that's outside of that I don't control, and my boundaries are with me, they may not receive that. So since we have become such a culture of validation that someone has to validate what we do, and such a clique culture of who likes me and who doesn't like me, it really overcomplicates what boundaries really are and what boundaries are really for.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah.
So in your own personal life, what area or areas have you felt like you struggled in the most with setting healthy boundaries?
Yeah. So in my personal life, I was a people pleaser. So I identified that about myself. After being in a marriage for 20 years, I was married for 20 years prior to divorce, and I married very young. I was 19 when I got married. And looking back on that now, I can say that I really did not know who I was, nor did I have any type of boundaries or guidance for my life. So without boundaries, without guidance, without being really in tune with who I was and what I needed and wanted in my life, I accepted what everybody else gave me. I accepted what everybody else showed up with on my front doorstep. And I took it in to mean, okay, yep, that's who I am. Yep, that's what I'm supposed to do. Yep, let me make that work, even at the expense of my own peace, of my own happiness, of my own self-care, at the expense of all of that. I took on everybody else's stuff. I took on what everybody told me I was. I was a teen mom, had my first baby when I was 15. So it came a whole lot of labels that went along with that. So I am labeled now. So I took that on. Yeah. Then I got married early. So then I took on a whole bunch of other stuff. So my life really had become a narrative of what everyone else had told me I was versus me taking control and knowing who and what I really am and who and what or what I wanted in my life. So when we talk about boundaries, boundaries are not always for the other person. The boundary is to protect who I am in me. Who am I? Yeah. What person am I? What do I want in my life? How do I want to show up every day? So once I identified that and really understood with it, and it came through therapy, a whole lot of it. That's why I love your platform so much that, you know, you need a coach and a counselor. You need a coach, a counselor, and some Jesus.
And some Jesus in there.
You need those three things in your life.
Yeah.
Because that is what helps you to identify who you are and what you want in your life and what you do not want in your life. So anyway, the boundaries for me came because I was a people pleaser. Yeah. So I had to get in a space where I was comfortable not pleasing people, where I just became comfortable with being okay with who I was. Yeah. It took me some years.
The yes and no's, right? You started started saying a lot more no's.
I started saying a lot more no's and a lot more, wait a minute. You know, it wasn't even a no, it was a, ooh. Yeah. You know, that made me feel some kind of way. That made me feel uneasy. That made me enter a space mentally and emotionally that I didn't want to be in. Yeah. So it helps you to identify what you do want, what you don't want, what's good for you, what's not good for you, and then how to move in wisdom. Yeah. Because boundaries also allowed me to become much wiser in a lot of places of my life. So for me, I was a people pleaser, and I still deal with it from time to time, but rejection. Yeah. So I didn't want to be rejected by anyone. I didn't want to be rejected by friends, by coworkers, by bosses, by, you know, it kind of goes along with people pleasing. We work to please people so that we're not rejected in the big scheme of things. And, you know, we can talk about rejection all day long and pull back the layers of where
that's a whole different life.
Honey, that's a whole different life. A whole different life. But, you know, and for me, walking through therapy, we identified that rejection for me, the trauma of rejection was planted when I was 6 years old. Yeah. So, you know, that had followed me all of my life of being a people pleaser. Yeah. So people pleasing and the fear of rejection is where my boundaries were challenged in life.
Yeah, that's good. So I did a pre-live yesterday where I was just getting like questions from people. And it was really steered on or around, you know, what areas of your life did you struggle with the most, right? And so here's a list of what they gave me.
Okay.
Work. They struggle with boundaries at work, with family, romantic relationships, friendships, co-parenting, and in-laws. Somebody came in at the end like, hey, I need y'all. In-laws need to be in that one because
okay, I'm writing here. I'm writing.
Okay. So work, family, romantic relationships, friendships, co-parenting, and in-laws. So that was kind of the common theme amongst the live of the areas that I'm not gonna say most people, but the people were on the live that struggled in, and all of those hit me. I was like, oh yes. I would probably say work for me for sure. Setting boundaries at work. And I don't know if it's just because, you know, you're getting paid. And so you feel like you're obligated to show up because you're giving me a paycheck and I want to be the best person at work, right? I want to get the best raise. I want to get the best bonus. And I want to be known as this just amazing worker. And that was draining. Draining. And it's hard to keep up with that, that momentum. And that's where you get the work hurt and the work life balance isn't good, the work trauma, all of those things come from you really not setting healthy boundaries at work.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, so all of those different relationships, here's the deal with boundaries is it's like a muscle. And once you exercise it, it gets stronger and it bleeds over to every relationship in your life. For work, a lot of us deal with imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is, we never feel that what we have accomplished, that we are worthy of it, or if it, it is a truly my accomplishment.
Yeah.
It's a fluke that it happened this way. It's a fluke that I got that job. It's a fluke that I accomplished what I accomplished. And that alone creates trauma around the boundaries at work, because what we will do is push, 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 push. How much have we heard that as Black women, we have to work 10 times harder, that we have to get up, hours earlier. We can't afford to be wrong. We have to be right. We have to be, do more, be more. That alone creates exhaustion. It creates an exhausting way to exist. But also boundaries come along with that. In my career, when I was working, just launched into entrepreneurship, Lord, y'all pray for me.
Got you, Will.
Back in October, but God is good. All has been well. But prior to going into my own coaching and consulting business, I worked in the corporate America as VP of workforce development for a vocational trade school industry, where I was the only and the youngest. I was the only African-American female. I was the youngest woman in the C-suite, period. And all of that added extra pressure. And it was a world of where predominantly white males that had sales backgrounds were in those C-suite roles. My background is psychology, workforce development, counseling, coaching. I'm not a salesperson, so I always felt that what I was doing was not good enough.
Yes.
That I accepted some things from them. Now that I stop and look back, and how many of us have done that? We go to a meeting, things are said, it's an undertone to it that didn't quite feel right. But because of that validation and wanting to be there, and fear of being seen as the hostile, the angry, all of the labels that we're given,
lazy,
just we can name a lot of them, that those identity things that we're targeted with, that even though we have that boundary of, and we'll say, well, I'm not going to ever let anybody talk to me like that. Or, if somebody was to say something to me like that, this is what I would do. And then you find yourself in that situation and you're quiet. It's like the words have escaped you. You don't know what to say. But boundaries in that area, it's that validation piece. It's that validation piece that rolls into every one of these relationships, into family, into romance, especially romantic relationships. Lord Jesus, we find somebody that we want to keep.
Leave that untouched. Leave that untouched. Leave it untouched. We ain't go. Listen, I just gave you some highlights. Did nobody tell you to pick one and go all in? Don't come for my soul today.
Honey, listen here. Listen here, but it is, we want to be accepted, and we want to be in, and we want all of the things for the gram, and we see all these videos and goals, and I want that, and yada, yada, yada. And you get in a situation where your boundary, those boundaries you set when you were sitting on your front porch within your picket fence, are challenged when you walk outside of your fence. And you don't stand up for the boundary. You let it, okay, I'm gonna let it go this time. That, again, it's a muscle. And the more you exercise it, the easier it becomes for you, and the more prominent it will become in your life. Versus if we pull back from it every time, then we're not exercising that muscle. We're leaning into that validation piece again.
Yeah, that's so good.
And acceptance, validation and acceptance.
That acceptance is, everybody
wants to deep.
Just want to feel like I'm accepted. I'm valued.
Everybody wants it. I would not be being real if I said, even that we hear people say all the time, I don't care what anybody. Yes, you do. I don't care what they say. You do care.
Yes, you do.
You care about what people are saying. You care about what people believe about you or what people think about you. But we can't allow that to weigh more in what we think and feel and believe about our own selves. That's where we get it off. It's the misbalance of it, that we care more about what our bosses think. We care more about, and don't get me wrong, y'all. I know at work we have to comply to. There are things at work that you have to comply to. But if we're honest with ourselves, y'all, we take on a lot in work relationships that we just don't have to, or we don't want to. Let me say it that way. And we don't have the tools and the resources on how to deal with it. Yeah. So even when it pops up, we don't have tools and resources to help us handle those conversations that will help us overcome or help us express our boundary. And so, you know, that's a topic for a whole nother day.
Listen, I done came up with 3 new lives.
I see you over there writing and jot.
From acceptance to rejection to dealing with work-life boundaries.
Yeah. Ooh, work-life boundaries.
That's a word.
Okay. I'm looking at Mr. Marcus Norman over here. And can you see his comments on the book?
Let's see.
He put one here. Self-talk is serious. What we think counts so heavy. Oh. What we think counts so heavy in our lives. But here's the key to the what you think thing. And, you know, I deal with mindset all the time. That's my juice. That's my space. That's where I eat, sleep, and breathe, because I believe that the things that we say to ourselves the most are the things that show up in our lives. Our thoughts frame our lives. Our thoughts create images that are painted on the canvas of our imagination that pushes reality out in our lives. Yeah. So what we think and say to ourselves has to always be louder than what others are saying to us about us. That's so good. Has to be louder. Yeah. It has to be louder. So how does that become louder? Is that we're practicing it. We are practicing those conversations. We're practicing how we speak to ourselves about ourselves. When you get to a place where you can talk to yourself about you the way you see yourself, that's when everybody else doesn't matter. That's so good. And that's when everyone else doesn't matter. You touched on that with your live yesterday. And yes, your I am. Your I ams. Your I am. Oh, baby, I was over there jotting all type of notes, because it's true, right? Like what you think of yourself. Yeah. That's to outweigh with anybody, because the world is, you got a million different people telling you who you are supposed to be. And if you start believing that. And if you don't have a boundary, even around that, y'all, right? A boundary starts with you deciding. It's a decision on what you are going to say yes to and what you are going to say no to. Your yes has to be so sure. Your yes has to be so solid, and you have to know why you are saying yes to that boundary. And a lot of that goes into, what do I think about me? How do I feel about me? At this point in my life, I value peace more than anything else. Yeah. Peace mentally, peace in my surroundings. The mat outside of my door says, check your energy before you enter my house. Jesus. Because I value the sanctity of my surrounding, that I have worked to get here. I have worked to create an atmosphere of peace in my home. So good, Shaundra. Because I know what it's like to not have it. That's right. So now that I'm at a place where I feel at peace, I work to protect it. Yeah. So that's a boundary for myself. For yourself. I work to protect it because I know that peace allows me to be creative. Peace allows me to love. Peace allows me to think clearly. Peace allows me to make better decisions. Peace allows me to bombard confusion that comes into my life. That's a boundary. But if you don't sit with yourself, and if you're not comfortable with who you are, you can't begin to set a boundary to protect, because you don't even know what you're protecting. You don't even know what you're protecting. You don't even know what you're protecting. Yeah. So entering boundaries or setting boundaries, you first have to have those conversations, those I ams with yourself, and know who you are and be confident in that. And what you say to yourself, take captive, start to be intentional and conscious of the thoughts and the things that you're saying to yourself about yourself. Yeah. So that will help. Let me slow down because I feel my Shaundra now. Man, you better preach on this Sunday. I know you're a PK girl anyway. But it is so, I love it. You know, I learned this in therapy. Yes. I learned this in therapy after my divorce, which was, it was huge. That was huge. And I could talk about the lessons from that for days. But I entered therapy. I started going to therapy, was at church one Sunday there in Dallas at Concord. And it was like a resource Sunday where they were offering different resources with that from people that were within the church, but they for the community.
Yeah.
So there was an organization there that provided counseling. And I remember going to the table and thinking to myself, first of all, why they have a counseling table in church? Like, who's going to say they need counseling?
Yeah.
But the pastor, when he talked about it that day, he said, everyone needs a little direction.
Yes.
Everyone needs just a little help to see things a little clearer. And I was at a point where I was really trying to understand, what does this all mean? What's next for me in my life? Yeah. So anyway, going to therapy, after a few sessions, she told me, you want me to tell you what to do that's going to help you feel better. She said, I can't tell you what to do. I can only guide you according to what's already inside of you.
Yes, that's so good.
I can help you draw that up so that it becomes in the forefront of your mind so that you can act on it.
Yeah.
So when she said that, I began to think that everything we need is already on the inside of us. We just need to know how to pull it up and how to move it forward in our lives. Boundaries become the same way when you get to a point where you can pull that up and understand who you are from the core of your being. And those things that you don't like, you have the power to change. But you first got to acknowledge who you are and what you are.
That's right.
When you can get to that point, that's when you can start to set healthy boundaries.
So good.
But you got to know who you are and what's on the inside of you. You must know that.
So it's really impossible to try to set boundaries when you are not even in a place of healing, you think, too?
I think it goes hand in hand. I think that we know as we are on our healing journey, which never ends.
Never, ever.
I mean, we're always constantly.
You already know.
On the path of healing.
Yeah.
But as we're on that path, I think at different points, we learn different things about ourselves that will create or help us to establish boundaries.
Yeah.
So it never ends. Like a boundary that I had even, 8 years ago is much different than I have right now.
Yeah. So it's ever changing.
So it's ever changing and it's ever evolving. But here's the beauty of it is that as you move forward in life and things come and go, because you have understood what boundaries mean to you and the importance of them, and you've seen the result of what it means to have boundaries, it becomes easier for you to do it.
Yeah.
Like for me, example, friendships, girlfriends. Yeah. Like I have a saying, girl, get your circle right.
Get your circle right.
Girl, get your circle right.
Get it right.
Your life is the narrative of your life, good or bad, can be directly associated to the 5 people that you spend the most time with. That's the 5 people that are closest to you. So if your life is not succeeding, it is a fact. It is a statistic. You can look it up. It's the way our minds are made. But if you look at the success or the failure of your life, you can associate it or you can connect it to the people that are around you. So if you said this the other day that on your live that you have friends that every time you talk to them, they're in that same place of stuff. And you had to just say, I can't allow you to dump that on me anymore. It's when the people around us carry energy and they carry stuff. So when you go, when you're in the company of somebody and then you leave and you feel, ooh, I'm
glad that was over.
Yeah, I'm tired. I'm drained.
You drained, or your mindset is looking different. Right. Now I'm like, dang, I thought I could have this, but now since she said she couldn't, or he said he couldn't, then why would I? You just really start buying.
You don't even realize it. You don't even realize that's what you're doing because subconsciously that stuff sits in your head.
Yes.
So, even with as simple as it is, style, shoes, makeup, hair, those things, you ever saw a group of women and everybody got the same hair, everybody looked the same, okay, well, y'all probably together all the time. Yeah. But it's just the nature of how we're wired. Yeah. So when you pay attention to how you feel when people leave your company. that helps you set a boundary.
Woo.
So when I was married, I didn't have a whole lot of girlfriends. I was raised in the era of, when you're married, your husband should be your friend, and you don't have single friends and no other woman, all of that garbage. But let me not call it garbage. There's some truth to some of it. But anyway, I didn't have a whole lot of girlfriends. So after my divorce, here I am at 40 years old trying to build relationships. Trying to start friendships at 40 years old. I'm trying to find my group of people. And I started to pay attention to how I felt when I left the company of certain women. And one thing my mama has always told me is, she said, when you come into the company of another woman, you should always leave with something. She said, you're going to leave with something, whether it's good or bad. So always pay attention to what you leave with when you're in the company of other women.
Somebody got to drop that in the chat. That is powerful.
Powerful, honey. That
anytime I'm gonna be at dinner. Like, let me see how I'm feeling.
Anytime women come together, you're gonna leave with something. Wow. Good or bad, you're gonna leave with something.
Wow.
And that's what my mama said, y'all. My mama.
Thank you, mama. That's
the wisest woman I know.
Yes.
And it's been a lot of years pouring into women. And she's always telling me, be the woman that leaves good behind. Don't be the one that, when women leave your company, they're, whispering and shoo-shooing, and they're feeling exhausted because they've been in your company. Yeah. But anyway, I started to pay attention to that. So I think someone had said on your live that, do we make a list of our boundaries? Well, we don't have to make a list, but we can definitely pay attention to how we're feeling, and when people are in our company, and it puts a signal in your mind. Okay, now I'm going to limit the exposure of that person in my life.
That is so, you don't even remember I said that on my live, like, do we need to come up with a list?
Yeah.
Energy. How is your energy?
Yeah.
When you step away from this relationship, how is your energy when you are around work, right? How do you feel? Do you have anxiety when you're about to clock in? Simplest things. Do I feel like this friendship isn't good for me? Is this church good for me? Is all of that? Is my sister good for me? My cousin good for me? Like, how am I feeling? That right there, that just
and then listen, and we got to be honest with it, and we don't write it off or push it off as, I don't really think I don't feel what I really think I just felt. That's how we stay in relationships, romantic relationships, too long, is that we overlook the thing that we know is there. Like, okay, he brought me a gift, so I'm gonna overlook the fact that he hasn't answered my phone call all day. He came and spent a weekend with me out of town, so I'm going to overlook the behaviors that I know I have seen prior to. That's what boundaries protect you.
It's protection.
It's not about telling the other person, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this in order to be in my life, you got to do this, and you got to do this, and you got to be this, and you got to show up here. You
come with the whole, what I said. You go on a date and be like, these are my boundaries. Hold on.
These are my boundaries. Let me get my list out. So first of all, look, number one.
Can you?
It's not about that. It's more about, I want to protect me.
Yeah.
I love me too much to allow your behavior to inflict pain on me. Or your behavior to disrupt my energy. It took me some time to figure that out. Being thrust back into the dating world, I'm just like, Lord, what is this out here? But I quickly understood that when I was talking about protecting my peace, I quickly understood that energy is transferable, first of all. And that I have to protect me, because no one else is going to protect me. No one cares about me more than me and God.
That's right. Yes.
In any relationship.
Yeah.
So we'll overlook things that we know, even when it comes to family. Just because they're blood don't mean that they have to be in the front row of your life.
No.
If it doesn't, and I'm not saying we throw our family away, but again, you have to be conscious and cognizant and understand what's good for you. Yes. And boundaries don't always feel good to the other person. They might think you're being mean. Okay, I'm just, everything is done in love, but I just can't do that right now.
Yep.
I can't show up for you like that right now.
So
and then even in our relationships, being okay with having the conversation. I really want this relationship, but in order for us to stay in this space together and grow together, I need some things done a little bit different.
Yes, I love that.
So it's still, if the boundary needs to be verbalized, it's still verbalized in love. It might not be what the other person wants to hear, but it's what's best for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And protecting my peace and my energy. And I'll walk away from that conversation feeling so much better.
Yeah.
Than just, leaving it to chance for you to figure out what I'm trying to say or what boundary I have set in my life. Yeah. I don't know how I went all the way down there.
That's so
I hope I answered the question that you asked me.
Listen, you giving it to the world today.
Look, family, it is okay. I just want everybody to know, and if you walk away with nothing else from this, understanding who you are. First of all, sitting in the space of what do I want and what do I want for my life?
Yeah.
And that question is answered differently for every person.
Yeah.
And then protect what you want.
At all costs.
At all costs. And that's the beginning of setting boundaries.
Yeah.
What do I want? Because I'm going to work at it. Took work to get to peace. It took work to find my way back to joy.
Yes.
It took work to find my way back to happy. It took work to overcome all of the years of trauma that has been in my life. It took work, and it's still work.
Still work, yeah.
It's still work. It never goes away. You understand, and you get resources to handle it. But when we start talking about boundaries and setting boundaries, you can't set a boundary if you don't know who you are and what you want.
Yeah. You'll just continue to pile, right?
So
you're at the point where you've done the healing from the past, but you constantly in these places. It's because your boundaries aren't good.
And then you're always triggered. You wonder why. You think, I thought I was over that, but yet here I am again in a situation where rejection is on the front of why I feel this way versus, okay, I understand what's going on. I see this, I feel this. Okay, let me make the adjustment.
Yeah.
Let me deal with me. Sometimes we got to deal with us, with with our own selves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that you don't keep coming back to that same place over and over again. Yeah. But again, a boundary protects what you have worked so hard to get. Yes. When I gave the analogy of the front yard, your house has a fence around it. You protect your home. We have Ring cameras. We have security systems. We have alarms. We have locks on the gates. We have locks on the windows. We have locks on the front door. We have, if you don't live in a house, wherever your space is, there are certain people that can get up to your apartment and there's certain people that can't.
That part.
So you work to protect what you have invested in.
Yes.
But we give our houses and our cars more protection than we give our hearts and our souls and our life. Jesus. So a boundary is that lock. It's the alarm system. It's the ring system. It's the whatever protects me from whatever is out there.
That's so good.
But in order for me to protect, I got to know what I'm protecting.
Yeah, you got to know.
You got to know what you're protecting. And at this point, I know Shaundra is, as my friend Kofi would tell me all the time, baby, you the gift.
Yeah.
Kofi tells me all the time, Shaundra, you're the prize.
Yes.
You're the prize. You're the prize. So when you can begin to, and I say that in no arrogance and no ego with it at all, but you got to get to a place where you're being comfortable with the person that you are, all of the flaws and all.
Yeah.
I am comfortable with who I am. I am good in my skin. Yeah. And I want to protect that because I know what it feels like to not have peace, joy, happiness, love. Yeah. I know what it feels like to sit in a quiet apartment and cry all weekend. Mm-hmm. I know what it's like to go to work and function at work and then come home and you cry all night. Yes. I know what that feels like. I used to say all the time, the silence was deafening.
Yes.
I know what it feels like to sit in those places. I know what it feels like to feel empty. I know what it feels like to long to have love and you don't even know where to go find it.
Yeah.
So because I understand and know what all of those spaces feel like, and I don't ever want to be permanently back in those spaces again,
Yes.
boundaries helps me protect the work that I've done on myself.
That's so good, Shaundra.
Boundaries help me protect the work that I've done on myself. So I'm okay. There's not a man that can enter my life that's going to make me love him more than I love me.
That's one.
So I won't overlook the red flags.
Yep. You're not turning them light pink.
Ever. Okay. If
you know, we'll turn the red flag light pink quick.
We're not turning no red flags. No. And even that's any relationship, any family, friends.
Yep.
You know, my circle is real small for that very reason.
Yeah.
Is that I feel energy when I come into contact with people.
Yeah.
And it's a boundary and it's a muscle.
So
it doesn't take me really a long time to be like, oh, that's not a Shaundra person. So I don't treat them bad. Like I don't, oh girl, I can't hang out with you because you're not for me. You know, you don't have to do that, but you can give yourself distance and space.
Yes.
You know, you can give that person distance in your life. I taught my kids that people get to possess 3 different areas of your life. You have your front row.
Yeah.
That means that if you're on the stage, the people in the front row can see you, you can see them, they see everything you're doing, you can see everything they're saying back to you, like we can have an exchange.
Yeah.
There are people that sit in the middle that they can see you, but you kind of sort of can see them, you know, not real clear, but you know that they're there.
Yeah.
And then there are people that's in the back row in the balcony. They can see you, you don't even know that they're in the room.
Wow.
That's how I taught my kids to determine friendships.
Yeah. So
who's good. Close to me? Who's in the middle of the theater of my life? Yeah. And who's in the back or in the balcony? Mm. So when you start to put that was teaching them boundaries.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was teaching them boundaries and how to evaluate and assess friendships. Everybody is not your friend. Mm-mm. They can be your friend on social media, but they're not. Everybody is not the friend in your life. Yeah. So when you give them a place, it creates a boundary so that you know how people can move in and out of your life. Yeah. And it's so funny. The first time I heard my youngest son articulate that and give it back to me, I about fell out. Because he was telling me about a girl and I was like, okay, so what is she? And he was like, she kind of in the front row. And I was like, okay.
That's so dope. That's dope. You get it.
It made sense. Yeah. But you know, that's teaching your kids boundaries. You know, as mothers, we have to figure out how do we teach boundaries to our kids at a level that they can understand it. Yes. Nobody taught me that. Yeah. Nobody taught me what a boundary was. So when I was sexually mishandled at 7, yep, I didn't know that that was not supposed to be. Yep. Because nobody taught me boundaries. Yeah. So again, it protects, boundaries protect you. Yeah. Boundaries are more for you than they are for other people. Yeah.
So when I was doing some research, a lot of research over this topic, because I didn't realize that it was just as deep as it is, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the questions that I looked up was like, why is it so seemingly difficult, right? Yeah. For people to set healthy boundaries? You would think that this should be easy, right? As we know, it's not. Yeah. So Psychology Today says this. The reason why it's so difficult for people to set healthy boundaries is FOMO, right? So fear of missing out. Mm. So the acronym is FOMO. So FOMO, fear of missing out, right? Yes. And this is what they said. The thought of missing any kind of opportunity for growth, fun, recognition, or something that leads to a feel-good result catapults you into a sea of overcommitment and perpetual quest for experience. And when I tell you my jaw drops, and I can read it back if y'all want me to go ahead and read it again.
Read that one more time.
So it's FOMO, right? The fear of missing out. The thought of missing any kind of opportunity for growth, fun, recognition, or something that leads to a feel-good result catapults you into a sea of overcommitment and perpetual quest for experience.
And my add to that is the reason the feel-good result is because we respond to emotion. We are emotional beings. We respond to emotion and we lack emotional intelligence.
Who wrote that book on emotion?
Darius Daniels. Darius Daniels.
Darius Daniel, Dr. Darius Daniel. I sent him a message, girl. You know he ain't gonna respond.
Yeah, but look, no, we're not gonna say that.
Maybe, okay. I was like, if I can get him,
change your words, ma'am.
I know, but pastor, sometimes it's just a slippery slope sometimes. But I did reach out to him. He's absolutely incredible. And so I read the book. Emotional intelligence is a whole thing. It's a whole thing. So anyway,
but he deals with boundaries in that book. I think it's in the chapter. I read the book too. I think we read it together. We did a book club.
We did it on, yes, it was. I don't know why I thought it was relationship goals, but it was
no, we did the group on emotional intelligence, but he talks about boundaries in that book. And I think it's in the chapter that's called Limitations. It's towards, I remember it being towards the end of the book, but I think the name of the chapter is Limitations. But in that chapter, he talks about boundaries and even identifying, are they associates, or the different classifications. And how boundaries work. So anyway, amazing book, emotional intelligence. But as humans, even in that book, he speaks about that we respond to emotion. We don't respond to what makes sense and what's logical. We respond to how things make us feel. So those feel good moments. Oh, this is fun. Okay, but should you really be doing it?
Should you really be
doing it? Do you really need it in your life? I think I told a girlfriend of mine the other day that, the freedom of I can, so I do it, versus just because I can doesn't mean I should.
That's that grown talk. Yeah, that's that grown talk.
Just because I can doesn't mean I should. And we were actually having the conversation about me, and I remember after the divorce, the first time that I was out, probably later than I should have been. And it hit my mind that, there is no one for me to report into at home. If I wanted to stay out to 6 a.m, I could. But just because I could didn't mean I should.
I should.
Don't mean that it was the healthy thing to do.
Right.
So anyway, when we talk about that to the quote, and I love Psychology Today. It's one of my favorite publications. They're stacked into the closet over here. That's the geek.
I love it so much.
The geek in me.
Man, it be hitting me with so many nuggets.
Psychology Today is
the truth.
It's the truth. But we respond to emotions, those feel-good moments and those feel-good things. And we don't like to feel pain. We don't like to feel disappointment. And sometimes boundaries will, they are not always pleasant.
No, they're not.
They're not always the pleasant thing to tell a family member, I just can't be at that event right now.
Yeah.
Or, I can't show up for you in that way today.
Yeah.
That you don't want to feel because you don't know how the other person on the other side is going to respond.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you don't want those disappointing moments, or you fear that if I tell whomever in my romantic relationship that this is what I can and I cannot accept, if they say, okay, it's possible that they walk away. You don't want that pain or that rejection. So we lean more to what feels good. What I don't want to miss out, if you're missing out. And so I'm just going to put all of what I know I shouldn't take in, let's just lay that on the side for right now so that I can go have fun, or so that I can hang with my friends. Yeah, for the hype of it. And you leave that hype just angry at yourself. You ever got home from something and be like, that was just 2 hours of my day that I will never get back?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and I try not to, right?
Now, as I have, again, it's the muscle that we work over and over, and so now I can say without any reservation, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. My mama talks about me all the time. She's like, because you'll change your mind in a minute. I'm like, yeah, because if I wake up that day and that's
I don't
just
want to
not
do
what
it.
I'm feeling for my day, then I'm not probably not going to do that.
Yeah.
But again, it's a muscle
Yeah.
that you have to work and be comfortable with. Yeah, but fear of missing out will definitely cause us to live outside of our boundary.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
according to your girl, Lisa Nichols, she's an author, she's a motivational speaker, she's
Yes.
incredible. She says, how can you expect a person to respect a boundary they never knew existed? So yeah. How can you expect a person to respect a boundary that they never knew existed?
Lisa
So
is the GOAT.
Yeah. So do you feel like people are like setting these unspoken and imaginary boundaries with people?
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
and expecting them to like rise to their occasion, and they're like, I didn't even know
that was something I
I
needed
didn't
to
know you
rise
even had
to.
a line.
Yeah, Marcus just said that in the comments. Do you tell people the boundaries they are in your life? So it's that a lot of times we're like, I'm not gonna.
Yes, you do,
say
Marcus. Look, Marcus is number 6. Okay. Yeah.
But we hold people. First of all, nobody can read your mind.
Nobody
Can read your mind. And you have to be able to communicate in a way that, again, I don't say it's smart to sit with a list and run down your list on the second date of what you want and what you don't want. But I think it kind of goes back to your opening quote of, we teach people how to treat us.
100%.
We teach, so that's part of boundaries as well. We teach people how to treat us. For example, and you gave this example, I think, on your live, that if you don't want to be contacted after 11 o'clock. Okay, I'll use myself for example. I'm an early riser. 4:30, 5 o'clock, I'm woke. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, I'm asleep. Like, it's very seldom that I catch 10 o'clock news or whatever. I'm asleep.
Yeah.
So if you called me after that time and you're expecting a response, if I don't tell you in a way, so that you understand, she's asleep. She's not going to answer the phone. I'm not out doing anything. I'm not with anybody else. I'm asleep because I got up early.
Right.
Well, if I don't communicate that effective communication, then it does allow that other person now to create a narrative that they have made true in their minds. That's really not the truth in the situation.
Yeah.
So you have to become skilled in how to communicate your boundaries without it feeling like an attack to the other person, or that you're just running down this list of things that you don't want, because a lot of people will use boundaries to manipulate.
Ugh.
This is what I want, and if you can't do this, then you can't be in my life. Baby, that is manipulation.
Yeah, and bye.
And nobody wants to live that way. Nobody wants to live with a person that does that, and nobody wants to be treated that way by another person.
Right.
So we have to make sure we're not using our boundaries as manipulation, but that we know how to effectively communicate to another person what we want and what we don't want for our lives. And then we demonstrate that through behavior.
Yeah, that's so
we
good.
demonstrate through behavior.
So in the illustration that you gave, so it's not about just not answering the phone. It's about maybe telling that person, right? So you can just ignore them for years.
Yeah.
It should probably get the hint. Well, apparently they're not, but it keeps irritating you. And you're not telling them, but now you irritated because they keep calling you, but they don't know not to call. They just think maybe for the last 3 years, you're busy at 10.
So we're just creating stress and false narratives all the way around. Whereas in the beginning, if I would have said, and it always comes up in conversation some way for me, somewhere. I mean, that's just an always come up that I'm an early riser.
Yeah.
But I go to bed early as well. I'm not.
Yeah.
But I might wake up over in it. But anyway, it always manages to come up. So then they know what to expect. And again, for women, and I can speak of women because I am one. I've mentored a lot of young ladies, early 20s, 30s, that are navigating dating and relationships and all the things. And I say to them off the top, it is the way that you carry yourself, and it is the way that you communicate non-verbally that will teach a man a whole lot about you. It's how you show up. It's in the show up. Yeah. Respect comes in the show up. How do you show up to a guy, to a date? How do you show up in the relationship? So when you show up with no boundaries and low standards and no expectation, low expectation, you can do whatever you want. Then, yeah. So, you set a behavior, or your behavior indicates certain things that he moves by.
Yeah.
Whereas if we come into this and we're communicating and we're open and we're carrying ourselves with respect and dignity, knowing who we are and acting as such, it teaches them a behavior that will establish boundaries for you.
I love that.
That you don't even have to say that.
Yeah. And even when things happen, right, addressing them according to your boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah. Addressing them according to your boundaries, and you're consistent in that.
And you're consistent and you're standing on it too.
And you standing on it. I'm not wavering from this one right here.
Yeah.
This is a non-negotiable for me. That I'm not wavering from this.
Yes. Yes.
And if the behavior doesn't change on their part, then they leave. They exit. And you have to be okay with that. That they just may not have been the person for you. Yeah. But if we look at relationships, as some have fallen apart or whatever, and you go back and you talk to them, they will say, well, the representative showed up. For a year, it was a representative. Yeah. After we got married, or after we got exclusive, then this whole other person showed. Now you want to show up with boundaries. Yeah. You ain't gonna do this. Well, I've been doing it for 19 years. What? You ain't had one boundary for a whole 12 months. Not one. Not a what. So we have to do better teaching. That's so good. Through behavior, what boundaries we have. And I've had people tell me, I just wasn't even gonna come to you that way. And I'm like, I've never said that to you, or I have never voiced that to you. And they'll say, well, it's just the way you carry yourself. It's a no nonsense. Don't step to me with garbage, because whatever it is about me that I'm not about to have it. Yeah. Yes. So it's through the work that you do on yourself, the boundaries that are set that allow you to give that energy for someone else to respond to appropriately. Yeah. Well, we about to wrap it on up, but I want already. What time is it? Oh, it is 2:00. Girl, we can talk for an hour. So I want you to talk to the new boundary setting folks. Them. Yes. New boundary setting. I made all that up, but that's what that was deep. That was deep. We want to talk to the people that's like, you know what? I haven't set appropriate boundaries. What would you tell them? What's some of the steps we can give them? Give them some tools to go home with that they can start implementing now. Sit with yourself, first of all. I need to put this in here. Okay. Sit with yourself, first of all, and become very in tune to what you want and what you do not want in your life. Okay. And make it simple. Don't overwhelm yourself with a huge concept. Yes. Be very simple. Yeah. If it's simply, I want peace. And I was just about to say that I would argue that everyone on this live would say, most people just want to live in peace. I want to live peacefully. Yeah. So what does peace look like to me? Yeah. Okay. So sit with yourself long enough to know what you want, and then walk it backwards. So if peace is what I want, what I desire, what does peace look like to me? Yeah. Okay. Yep. If peace to you means, and I'll use myself as an example, peace to me means that I have a home that is clean, that is clutter-free, that does not give off any type of negativity. Yeah. So when I say that, any gift, pictures, furniture, clothing, blanket, anything that reminds me of anything that did not bring peace to my life had to go. I love it. I will say this.
You know, I don't know what Houston looking like, but I
It's
can
the same, honey.
Your Dallas place, every time I walked in there, I instantly felt like this overwhelming sense of peace and gratitude. It was so white. It just was, I always, you know, I took my shoes off and I could just lay there for hours. There's something to be said about your place being your comfort.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And it's still that, I'm in the same, same type of setting.
I wonder, that's underrated. We don't talk about that a lot, but your home needs to be literally your peace, not just with the people, but with your space, how you create your space.
Because you know what, Erika, just what you said, and that makes me so happy that you felt that when you came into my home, because here's the deal. When people come into not only your home, your presence.
Yes.
When people come into your presence, if they can feel that energy that you have created, the peace that you've created, it will not allow them to act in certain or behave in certain ways.
100%.
Yes. It'll shut down a whole lot of nonsense. I've had people tell me that they were upset, they were angry, they were dealing with some stuff until I sat across from you. Yeah. Or just what you said, until I can. And everybody don't get to come to my house. That's another thing that people need to know. Everybody don't get to come. If you can say you know what the inside of my house look like, you are good with me. Yes. It is not, but that is because I've created that space and I've created that, I've done that work. And again, it's what you invest in. So I've put work into creating that type of environment. So you don't get to come in here with your nonsense and trash and bad energy and disrupt what I have worked to create. Yeah. Yeah. So in sitting with yourself, so peace, what does it look like for you?
Yep. So I got sit with yourself. What is it that what you want? I think I messed that up.
So sitting with yourself. So
basically what you want.
Determining what you want.
Yep. What does peace look like to me? So figuring that part out. What does peace mean for you? Because everybody may look different.
Everybody's may look different. So, but you work toward, you invest in creating that for yourself. So back to our analogy, boundaries are like a fence, and anything that's within that fence, you've invested in and you're going to protect. Okay. So peace is what I want. This is what peace looks like. Now let me work to have that. Yeah. And that's another reason, another thing with boundaries, we don't want to do the work. We just want to wake up and it be a certain way. No, you got to do some work.
Got to do some work.
Do some work. Yeah. So then you protect that. Then you will understand, you will know when that is being compromised, or when that is there's an attempt to compromise what's on the outside. In the church world, we say it when the devil shows up. Yeah. He comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. Yeah. So when something is coming into your peace at an attempt to destroy it, because I have done the work and created this environment, I know what evil looks like when it shows up. Yeah. Because I've sat in the space with God and spent time in his word and prayer and meditation and built myself up, then I can be more aware of what is coming at me. And then I can pull back from that, because I'm not going to walk head on into turmoil. I'm not going to walk head on into something. Yeah. So we do the work, whatever that work looks like for you. Work for me was exactly that. It was prayer. It was meditation. It was therapy. Yeah. It was shutting some people out. It was shutting some people out. Yeah. And it was bringing some people closer. So shutting out and bringing closer to me allowed me to create that space of peace, so that, again, that was my work. Everyone's work looks different, but we come to the same result. We come to the same outcome. Yeah. But figure out what the work is for you and be okay doing it. Y'all, go to therapy. Go see a therapist. Employ a coach. Yeah. Coaches help guide you, because everyone has blind spots. You have a blind spot. So I have coaches in my business. I have coaches in my personal life. I have coaches to help me deal with relationship issues, because they don't always have to be the same person for everything. But I have people that coach me through different stages or places in life. So we have to be okay with accepting help and make it normal.
Yeah.
And I love when you post, I'm going to therapy, you would post it, let's normalize therapy.
Girl, I be tagging. I mean, we tag when we going to Benihana's. We tag when we didn't land it to, yeah, we in New Orleans.
Right.
Tag you going to therapy.
Because here's the deal too, when we can become confident, bold, and courageous in the work that we're doing for ourselves, it will give someone else the permission that they need to do it for themselves.
100%.
100%. So that's what I would leave everyone with. Start there with figuring out what you want. Because what's a boundary for Erika is not for me.
Yeah.
But figure out what it is that you want and what you want to protect. And then what does it mean to you? Then do the work, invest to make that happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you will start to see that, oh, that's a boundary. And it's being compromised by work, by romantic relationships, by friends, by what were the other things you named? Co-parenting, in-laws. Again, with in-laws, we have boundaries with them, y'all. That's a whole nother section over there. I am now an in-law. My son is married, has a wife. And there are some boundaries that I have to set for me as the mama, because I'm no longer the number one in his life.
Yes. It's been a struggle. It's been a struggle.
No, it has not.
It's been good.
It has not.
Good.
I raised my boys to go away and be good men and find you a good wife. And I'm gonna be over here and be a good mama and a good grandma at this point and stay in my lane and stay in my role. I pray for wisdom to make sure that I don't overstep the boundaries of being a mother-in-law in my son's life. I don't ever want my son to have to choose between me and his wife.
Yeah, right.
So I work to have boundaries that protect me from being hurt. Yeah. Again, boundaries are for us. It's not the other person. Because if I put my son in a position to choose and he chose his wife over me, my little feelings might get hurt. But if I have a boundary already in place, then it protects me and it doesn't even allow him, to be in that position where he has to decide.
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother situation. But in any of those things, co-parenting, this is what I'm going to tolerate, and this is what I'm not.
I'm trying to get Dwelvin to do it with me. He is not. We need to do a co-parenting because baby,
y'all do well. Y'all do well with it.
Well, and it's been challenging, but we have overcome with communication, right?
Yeah. And it happens no matter. We co-parented when we became in the co-parenting space. Yeah. My youngest was 15. So, that after being married for 20 years, and now all of a sudden we're co-parenting a 15-year-old that was with his dad. He wasn't with me. He was with his dad. So figuring out where my role was and that's a whole nother subject. I think I would do it.
I told him we should do it around Father's Day, but he like, nah. So I may just do a mini session on it because
it's important. It's important because it's not only important for the parents, it's important for the kid.
Yes.
It's important for the child. So we have to get that one right. We have to get that one right.
So where can people find you?
You can find me on all social media platforms. I'm Life Coach Shaun D on Facebook and on Instagram. I am Shaundra Williams on LinkedIn. You can find me there. Or you can find me on Facebook as Shaundra Dineen. I try my best to keep, business from personal separate, but I am who I am. So it all bleeds together all the time. And I see in the comments that Norman has been tagging. Thank you, Marcus, Mr. Norman.
Listen, Marcus
Norman is on it.
Listen, I should have brought Marcus on here because Marcus been on it. Do you hear me?
Listen, you need him on. He's your relationship guy. He has an amazing platform. So you need to get him on. Y'all need to connect. Y'all need to connect and get him on your platform. But he's put my website in the comments. Thank you, sir. www.lifecoachshaund.com. You can shoot me an email hit my inbox. It's not hard to find me, and I do respond. I do one-on-one coaching, and I like speaking with people. I don't like, it's what I do in mindset, because your greatest success is overcoming fear. If we were to think about everything that all of the challenges that we have, like people say, oh, I wish I could do this, I wish I could do that. I always start with, well, why are you not doing it? 80%, 80 to 85% of the time, 90% of the time, they're afraid of something.
Yeah.
So if I can get you to start to work on your mindset to overcome fear, because your greatest success is on the other side of that. So that's my one-on-one coaching. Jan is in the comments over here. Hey, Jan. She said, yes, she does respond. I do, and would love to work with you. So if you are one of those people that need a little guidance, just drop me a message or shoot Erika a message, and she'll tell you how to get in touch with me. You can buy my book. Thank you, Mr. Norman. Fearless, actually released 1 year ago today, the Fearless Anthology. It was a gathering of about 8 authors, which was the culmination of coaching. We went through that process of overcoming fear, and how do you not only work to overcome the fear, but then how do you share your story? Because once you overcome, you become the rescue for someone else. 100%. So that book has 7 amazing authors in it that we went through the journey of how you overcome fear, how to overcome fear, and they wrote about it. So it's an amazing project that's 1 year old today. You can find it on Amazon. Marcus just dropped the link there in the comments, so you can find it there. What else is coming up? Next month in June, I'll have the release of a book project on parenting. So the tug of war between parenting kids, going from teenagers to adulthood. Oh, so in that book, for the first time, I write about my journey with teenage pregnancy that I don't do a whole lot of talking about, do a whole lot of sharing about, but it was quite an interesting time in life for me, being 15 years old and pregnant, the kid of a pastor, the oldest child of the family, in a community where you just don't do that.
Yeah, I'm sure you and Sarah Jake Roberts have some parallel stories, because
like we are like the same person when it, and she is one of my most favorite. Yes. I call her my spirit animal. Like, yes, if I could be somebody outside of myself, I would be Sarah.
Yeah, me too. She's a beast. She's incredible.
So anywho, those are the different ways to find me, the different ways to connect. And thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for the platform. And anytime, you always have my yes. So, just
I appreciate it.
I'm a text away, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you for your time. We love you. We value you. Thank you for just giving me some hour and 15 minutes of your time. You could have been anywhere. I know that you do a lot of work. And so thank you for just your sacrifice.
You're welcome. It's birthday week, so we're going to brunch now. We're going to brunch.
Oh, you gotta be lucky I ain't in Houston, because I would have came. Love you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. I pray that this was helpful. Please share, please like. If you have any further questions, just feel free to inbox me. If I need to get anything over to Sean, I will. But you guys enjoy your Sunday.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.